Well, good afternoon. I'm Peter Volhard, and this is Chemistry 3B, so fasten your seatbelts, because this is going to be a wild ride. And tongue-in-cheek, I added this little descriptor, the view of your existence. Indeed, what this semester will do, following up on Chemistry 3A, where you learned a lot about structure and how molecules move, about electronic arrangements, orbitals, and only towards the end did you start to actually delve into synthetic chemistry, how to put molecules together. And this, of course, is related really to not only total synthesis, but the molecules of nature. This semester will focus almost exclusively on strategies for making things and how things work and how they work in nature and specifically in your body. So quite regardless of your grade, a C is fine, C minus, what have you, if you walk out of this course at the end of the year and you can talk to your mom and tell her that this homeopathic medicine that she swears by is crap, I'd be very happy. Yeah. If you can talk to your friends, your family members, anybody who is into this, and discuss cholesterol and genetically engineered food or related subjects, you can tell them that's what's on the web is shit. Yeah. What you want to have is proper information, regardless of your opinion. You need to have the facts straight, and then you can argue forcefully. One of the most lamentable aspects of these disputes, genetically engineered food, for example, is just flaring up continually. Regardless of which side you stand on, you should have the facts straight. And what happens is that the protagonists, Monsanto and the like, of course, they know that stuff, and they're just appalled by the crap they're getting, when in fact one can make a reasonable argument against them. Okay, so but if you do this with arguments that are scientifically unsound and ill-informed, it's a losing battle, and people just talk so past each other. Okay? So you will hopefully, after this semester and then future semesters, be much more intelligent, and it will also give you a feeling for the complexity of these issues, because indeed nature is rather complex. As part of this course, for the new edition, I've added about 70 or so medicinal chemistry vignettes. That is, I'm taking this business about, okay, this is a macrolide and it's an anti-cancer agent, to the next level, where I actually show you in 70 entries all over the place, margin, text, what have you, how they actually do it. Okay, so at a very rudimentary level, so it's beginning medicinal or pre-medicinal chemistry, I'm giving you a feeling for how these things work, how they dock, how they metabolize, to a first approximation. Okay, so you get a much better feel for how these things work and what's to come later when you go on to either med school or some other bio-related subject. So I will weave this into my lecture, and I decided to do one today using something that's in the news, namely a spectacular breakthrough, in my opinion. There's now a cure for hepatitis C. Hepatitis C is a virus. It affects about 200 million people worldwide. It's a very insidious virus, because you can get infected at your age quite early, and you carry it seemingly with no ill effects. It sits in the liver, it attaches itself to the liver, and as it replicates and does its thing, it starts affecting the liver, deteriorates the liver. So eventually you develop liver symptoms, which are nasty, and cirrhosis and cancer, and then ultimately death. There are about 350,000 deaths attributed to hepatitis C worldwide, 20,000 in the US, but this really hides the tremendous impact this disease has overall, because once you start having symptoms, your life and the quality of your life is seriously impeded. And so one can pick this up. You can't really avoid picking it up, okay? By a variety of things. Blood transfusions are totally out of the picture there. Sharing needles, well, there you have a choice. Hopefully none of you in this business. Mother-to-baby transmission, well, probably nobody here is affected by this. Half of you maybe. Body piercing, that's quite popular, and tattooing. And then this one here, unprotected sex with multiple partners, is perhaps the most prolific and common way. I don't know why they say multiple partners, because all it takes is just one partner. But if you like multiple partners, all the better. So this compound is called sofosbuvir. It's a common name. It's concocted according to some nomenclature rules that medicinal chemists have invented, companies actually. More commonly known as Sovaldi. It's made by Gilead Sciences in Foster City in California. And it was just approved in 2013. And predictably, it's already a blockbuster drug into the billions. Okay? And it cures. Okay? That's the dramatic advance. And here's the structure. It looks like a lot of spinach here, some of which you may recognize. The crucial feature is this piece over here, which has the structure of a so-called nucleotide. A nucleotide is a single unit in a nucleic acid polymeric strand. We will see this in chapter 26 when we discuss nucleic acids. And these nucleotides are composed of a phosphoric acid residue. Here's the phosphoric acid. It's a phosphoramide, actually, in this compound. And here there's a sugar backbone, and then there is a base, and that's the famous nucleic acid base, DNA base, RNA base, okay, that's hanging off there. And in the nucleic acids, these guys are linked such that one phosphoric linker links to another one of these guys, and there's another linker down here. So you make a polymer several billion units long, and that's your hereditary information. So this virus needs its own nucleic acid, of course, to live, and it replicates by using a molecule called polymerase that polymerizes individual nucleotide units. And this compound, when administered, the polymerase thinks it's just one of its own, okay, one of the substrates it's used to picking up, and once it takes it up, the works of making the virus get screwed up, and that kills the virus. Notice here's a term of medicinal chemistry. Compounds like this are called prodrugs, because this compound is actually not active. It gets activated in the body by hydrolysis at these bonds that I've indicated here. Don't know whether you can recognize this with scissors. So it hydrolyzes here. The phosphoramide turns into phosphoric acid here, and this ester linkage also gets hydrolyzed, so you get a proper phosphoric acid. So you get a real little artificial nucleotide that's screwing up the works. Okay, so before we go on, let me work through the syllabus. The syllabus is uploaded on vCourses. Ideally, you should download it, put it on your desktop, and then you can consult with it, because a lot of the questions that come up, particularly phone numbers, email, pictures, email addresses, or office hours and the like, are all there. So it starts by telling you that the lecture part of this course can be taken separately from the lab. You may all know that, but the lab is restricted, and I suspect we are full now. So some of you may not be in the lab. You can take the lab next semester or during the summer of 2015. During the summer, we are not as impacted. Nevertheless, regardless of whether you're in lab or not, or maybe you've taken the lab already and you're just taking the lecture part now, you are entitled to visit any and all of the TAs at your disposal, at our disposal. We have about 20 TAs, 20 or more, and we will post office hours for those TAs. We will cover in the monolayer the entire week as much as we can, so that there has to be at least one, probably several slots that should be readily available to you. And then what I would do is just go to several of them and see which TA clicks with you. Okay? This is a highly personal matter. Some of the teaching styles vary, and you may like one person more than the other. So you should definitely try to make use of these office hours. I have my own office hours, and I'll show you the times in a minute. Last time to drop the course, this is one of those courses that where we are hard-nosed, and so you don't have much time. It's next week. Okay, so basically, if you're committed now, that's irrelevant to you. So here we have the instructors. I'm teaching, giving this lecture twice. You're not bound to show up here. You can go into the Monday lecture. I've never insisted on sticking with your section, so if the schedule is better for you in the mornings, by all means. The morning lecture is not webcast, so all the obscenities will be said there, and this one is a little bit sanitized, although I'm not sure this is really true. So here, so this is at 8 o'clock, and so our lecture here now is at 3:30. So this lecture is webcast, and so you can look at the webcast on the webcast website, or it's also published on YouTube. Okay, so you can do it either way. We have much improved equipment this semester. There was a major upgrade, so the YouTube lectures, which traditionally was slightly less quality, should now be really top. Then also on my website, my personal website, my research website, under teaching, you can find all 1,236 slides that I put together in 2006, I think, when I first started webcasting. For the entire Chem 3. Okay? So some of them are outdated or changed and so forth, but if you wanted to download them all at one go, you can do that. They are in PowerPoint, so you can doctor them if you'd like to fiddle with your electronic files. I will upload the latest, newest version of each chapter roughly at the beginning of the week. So what is very popular is to print the slides, print them in grayscale, right, so you don't use all your colors, and bring them to lecture and scribble on them, or use them in conjunction with the book and scribble notes on them. That's a good way to study. Then we have Marianne Robach. She's in charge of the lab. And equally importantly, we have a head GSI, Fred Tomlin. Here's his email. And he is primarily in charge of handling review sessions. These review sessions will be talk only. And this is a very important complement to the PowerPoint presentations. I'm backing off doing everything in PowerPoint, so you'll see a fair amount of board work also, because I listen to what you're saying at the end of the semester, and this seems to be very popular. But it gives you a mode of presentation that's slow, and you see the evolution, you see how the arrows go, how the electrons go, and particularly in mechanisms, how things unfold, rather than looking at it in a PowerPoint presentation. So we're starting next Wednesday, 5:30, 7:30 in 100 Lewis. Okay, so then we have a coordinator specifically assigned to us, Mark Jenkinson. He's in charge of all the technical questions that you might have. Adds, drops, lab questions, all the bureaucratic stuff that I wouldn't even know how to answer questions about this at the moment. And the idea is to focus all of this on one person who is knowledgeable, so that you avoid the too many cooks scenario. So now we're having lecture attendance and office hours. And here there's a nice quote by this professor of physics at the University of Pennsylvania. The way to approach this lecture is that you just need to be willing to be confused for a while. Okay? Then you sit down and think very hard, and then you unconfuse yourself. Meaning that first run through of a lecture, you may understand, well, thinking about my time when I took organic chemistry, 50%, 55%. Okay? But you scribble, take notes and all that. Then you go home and you run through it again, and then you understand 75%. Then you start working problems, and then you go through it again, and then you hopefully are close to 100%. Therefore, this is reasonably time-consuming, although not intellectually very difficult. But it is like learning a language. You have to go through if you have a new concept, a new reaction class, to assimilate it, you have to go through it several times. You may already have experienced that in Chem 3A, although maybe it was never explicitly stated in such a way. But if you look back at some of the stuff that you did in 3A that you found very difficult, now suddenly it's become easy, right? Because you thought about it, it's been regurgitated, it's been applied, and so forth. And this is exactly the way the human mind learns. So the single factor that gives you the most trouble is falling behind. So it's absolutely essential, if you didn't do this last semester, to now, most of your sophomores, I guess, in your sophomore year, take control of your life. Okay? In your freshman year, we're still treating you somewhat like high school students with all kinds of backups and do this and do that. Now, you're on your own. Okay? You determine your own fate, and you're in control of your own time, and we're not policing you. Okay? And that gives you tremendous freedom, which should be exhilarating, but it's also, there's some anxiety behind it, because you have to actually figure out things on your own. So the bottom line is, come to lecture regularly, and even though it's webcast, in part because the learning experience is by far superior if you're doing it live compared to looking at a canned lecture. There are now studies on this, because as you know, this computerized learning, remote learning business has started big time the last 3-4 years, and so the first results are in. And uniformly, those people who didn't go through live performance didn't do as well in exams. Okay? And in a way, if you think about it, it makes sense. Okay? If you think of me as Lady Gaga. Okay? You have the disc, and that's great, and you play it, and you might even see it on your computer, but there's no comparison to live performance. Right? That's why people stream to live performances, right? And they're always sold out. Right? The part of this, of course, is just the communal experience that you have with other people. Your focus is completely different. Okay. You're entitled to visit any TA. So one caveat, when you see your TA, this can be outside office hours. This can be done only by appointment. Don't go up to the labs. Okay? That's a safety hazard. We are now pretty religiously observant of the fact that this can be a dangerous business after some disastrous accidents that happened not here, but happened in other labs. So no circumstances should you visit the TA in his or her laboratory. Then we have the Student Learning Center, which you may know about. If you don't find out, you can sign up there. They have review sessions and the like. It's sort of like a parallel backup operation. Here are the office hours. Here is our head TA. That's me. I'm going to have my office hours in the library room 100F. That's the chemistry library, out there and up. And it's on the ground floor. I can't remember what F is. There are 3 rooms, and I think they're called DEF or something like that. So it's one of them. And they're glass walls, so you can look inside. So if you'll see the class right in there. Marianne, and then the teaching assistants will post. So now emailing. Emailing is impossible for me. I get 120 or so emails a day and research and all the stuff that I'm doing, and I can't deal with another 600 students, 600 customers. Okay? So in order to give you a chance to vent or particularly inform us about emergencies, I would like you to send all your emails to Fred. Fred is going to keep a tally. He's going to send it to me occasionally. I'm going to get the whole thing at the end of the semester so I can take into consideration illnesses, absences, and exams, and the like. It's completely pointless, and this applies to Fred and all the TAs, to start asking chemical questions by email, because it's very unproductive, cumbersome. You can't explain chemistry by email. Right? You need a board, you need chalk, you need pictures, and it's going to go back and forth, right? And I need my 2 hands to hand wave frantically. So come to office hours. This is the case. Okay? So the textbook is a new edition, just came out early this year, 7th edition, and you probably all have a molecular model kit. I'm showing models. These are the Maruzen models, the larger version of the models that you should have. I actually designed this model kit for Maruzen before the Civil War. And they adopted this. So they're pretty nice. And so I'm going to use them. You should use them because it makes you get acquainted with the molecules themselves. You develop a personal relationship. So problems, I'd like you to work as many problems in the book or on the Freeman website, where there are hundreds of extra problems. But in order to help you, and by popular demand, I have posted on B courses a list of selected, particularly recommended problems for each chapter as they prepare you perhaps best for midterms. Okay, so they're selected in this way. But there is tons and tons of stuff for you. Don't get overwhelmed by it. It's just a huge menu. You just take the dishes that appeal to you and that work for you. Okay? On the Freeman website that you can access, there are all kinds of student self-quizzes and quizzes and multiple choice and MCAT questions and endless. Okay? Spectral questions if you for the lab and so on. So it's more than you possibly can digest. Okay? So be careful in picking what works for you. Then, so for exams, final exam especially, check your exam groups. Every semester, when the finals come up, there's always 1 or 2 who didn't think about the fact that they have conflicting exams or too many exams on the same day. So they have to bite the bullet. If you miss an exam, there are no make-up examinations. So what we will do is we prorate you on the missed exam, or to put it differently, we grade you on the exams that you take. Okay? And by some very sophisticated mathematics, you will be placed appropriately in the roster. So if you miss the final exam without an excuse, you get an F. Typically, people miss final exams because there's something happened. Either you're sick or some event beyond your control. And if this happens, you can get an I, but only if you are at the passing level in the course. Okay? So this has to be C- or better. So if you're doing really poorly and then you can't show up for the final, at that stage an I is pointless anyway, because you would make up an I on starting with a grade that's very, very poor. So it's better to just write it off. So I have a collection of previous exams, another resource, quite appropriate resource because it gives you a feel for how these exams are structured. And they go back years and years. I just checked on my computer the PDF file of the collection of exams without answers, and then the answers are given in separate files, is 383 pages. Okay? So you got plenty of stuff. Be careful when you use those for practice, because some of them are slightly out of tune. Our first midterm is relatively early. In other semesters, it was relatively later. So some of the stuff, there may be stuff in some of the exams that is not applicable to your first midterm, but I think you should be able to readily recognize that. So yeah, the midterm exams, they're evening exams, and the instructions will be given, 90 minutes each, and then there's the final. It's on the Wednesday. Exam group 10. We give points, 2 times 250 for the midterms. The final will be 500, and so the total is 1,000. I don't give grades for midterms. There's no point really in doing that, but I will publish or show you in lecture the histograms for the exams, and based, you know your score, so you know exactly what percentile ranking you have, and that gives you an idea of how you're doing. So here's incompletes again. We've done that. Oh yeah, so if you have an incomplete, because you're actually passing the course, but you couldn't finish it, you have to make it up by the first day of instruction in the fall 2015. So today's equivalent next year. You can make it up by taking an exam of one of my colleagues for 3B, either in the spring or in the summer. Okay? This is a courtesy service that we do for each other. You email me that you're going to do this, and then we arrange it with the instructor to recognize that you're making up an I. And then the exam is fed to me, and you're out of the curve. It's a standalone document, and I'll just look at it and judge what sort of performance it is. Cheating and plagiarism, yes. Only 3 words to describe it. Don't do it. If you are on the